welcome to St. George City Council, regular meeting agenda scheduled December 10th, 2024, 5 p.m. at St. George City Hall. We'll call this meeting to order. As always, we will stand up and open with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Councilman Evans.
Here.
Councilwoman Cook.
Here.
Councilman Monticello.
Here.
Councilman Heck.
Here.
And Councilman Himmel is absent. We have a quorum. First item on the preliminary business, approval of minutes of the November 26, 2024 council meeting. Your motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilwoman Cook.
Second.
Second by Monticello. Seeing any opposition? Seeing none, minutes are approved. This time we'll bring up Mr. Chris Miller, who will give us a report from IBPS.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just wanted to briefly, since I wasn't here at the last meeting, just to give you an update. Through last week, December, we processed approximately 230 permits for residential and commercial construction. Our timelines have been reduced. Now we're at 4.8 days, so just under 5 days for residential permit reviews and about 3 days for commercial. Commercial is quicker because for the most part, these are tenant improvements. We haven't received large-scale commercial projects yet. We've also been slowly adding to our code enforcement workload, although it's not necessarily part of the scope. I think I mentioned last time I was here that we've had some citizens complain about some of the properties within the city. So we're slowly trying to roll out the service as well. We currently have one commercial building and 2 residential structures that we have under enforcement or trying to work through the process. We may come to you after the first of the year with some code amendments to local property maintenance code, because that will be required for us to process these as a traditional code enforcement case. But for right now, the codes are good enough for some of the complaints that we have. Happy to answer any questions, but again, we couldn't be more pleased to be serving the city. We feel like this is continued to be a really great partnership. Our founder was in town, Ashok Goswami. He visited the office yesterday. He'll be meeting with other staff tomorrow and the following day, and we're just, like I said, we're just excited to serve the city.
Code enforcement. Code enforcement.
Yes.
Code enforcement resources. What will you require to do a fantastic job with that?
So there are some minimum property standard codes that are part of the international, the ICC codes, the specific chapter that talks about some of the different requirements for residential and commercial structures. And so that will actually give us more teeth behind our enforcement. As of right now, we're looking at things as a nuisance or a health hazard, which normally encompasses those things, but as your attorney will tell you, having the minimum codes in place also provides procedure. And that's the secondary piece, is that we'll need to add in the proper procedure so that you receive a warning letter, and then you normally receive after that some kind of certified letter from the city that lays out the date when that should be addressed by. And if it's still not addressed, then there's a local court procedure that's normally set up here within the city.
That's where I wanted to go. So I'm a derelict property owner. I get hit with a bunch of code enforcement violations. I let them stack up. It gets to the point where the city is going to do something about it. We don't have a city court. How will we do that? Will that be the mayor's court? Will we send that to the GNC? What's the plan?
So you adopted an ordinance to have an administrative procedure. We will need to, once we get the codes in place and get some enforcement cases, we will need to have a hearing officer appointed and have staff, a prosecutor to handle those, so it can be handled as an administrative civil complaint.
So, for following it down that road, I've got a stack of complaints against me. I don't even show up to this court. judgment against me for being a bad person, then what's the recourse of the city to actually enforce the violation?
Depending on what the violation is, but if it's a maintenance issue, the city can take action to maintain the property and put a lien on the property. And those are most of the cases I think that you're gonna have. If it's blight and the structure needs to be removed, that's a longer process, but mostly get a lien against the property.
Do we have condemnation procedures and stuff in place already?
We do need to set up the process, but we didn't have any funding to operate the process, so we haven't really initiated it, but we did put in place an ordinance.
And we're trying to slowly roll this out as service. It just seems like the right thing to do. And we're utilizing our existing staff to do this on the building inspection side, so there's no additional cost to us to do this. As these continue to go on and we get a larger backlog of cases, if we start to see that we're not getting compliance on a voluntary basis, which even with the letter still, it's still, what we want to do is we want to resolve the case without going through all those extra processes we just talked about it. And in most situations, homeowners take care of the issue, but in some cases, they will not, as you mentioned. And in those cases, as we work through the attorney's office, trying to add in the required ordinances to the city's laws that we have on the books here, that will give us that extra procedure for the extra.
I look forward to seeing some maritime ordinances there.
All good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the information. On to introductions. So these are introductions of ordinances for public hearing on Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. We have one item under here. It's an ordinance to set the annual compensation for city officials and to provide for related matters. Councilmember Heck. That brings us into our new business. New businesses is items for public hearing this afternoon, as well as action. Item number one is a resolution for preliminary approval to issue not to exceed $20 million of revenue notes of the city of St. George, state of Louisiana, and providing for related matters. I will open up the public hearing on this item at this time. If anyone would like to speak on it, I've received no public comments, haven't been emailed any, and I don't have any cards. But if you'd like to talk on it, now's your time.
Glenn Duncan, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Councilman, Mayor, council people, thank you very much. As a citizen of Baton Rouge for more than 35 years, a former reporter and a former member of the staff of the legislature and House of Representatives, I've seen this concept from the day Bodie White walked into the school board building. And I know where this number comes from because you have given us a graduate course in civics, in communication, in education, in math, in budgeting, and how to make something out of nothing. And as a citizen that's just down the road, I was excited to think for a while I was in the city of St. George, but I'm not. I think I'm about a quarter mile short. But I can't speak for others in Baton Rouge, but I know there are others that feel exactly the way I do. We've been told by our leaders that your gain is our loss. And I'm here with an opinion to say this dollar amount right here is well deserved, and I look at the city of St. George as our gain. And I'm here to say congratulations, welcome neighbor, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for those kind words. Does anybody else have anything to say on this particular item? Be a tough one to follow. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Council? We actually can explain this a little bit, Okay, Mary, would you like to come up and just kind of explain what this is?
Yes. So this is the first step in a possible borrowing by the city of St. George.
All right, so this is just the first step in a possible borrowing by the city of St. George. It is a preliminary resolution only. It is a not to exceed $20 million for a term not to exceed 10 years.
and an interest rate of 8%. Those are the parameters that we always set forth in the resolution. When you are doing a borrowing, you also have to go to the State Bond Commission. So we'll use this resolution to go to the State Bond Commission and get approval. It does not bind you to borrow. In case things change, you decide that you do not want to borrow, you do not have to. In addition to setting out the parameters for the bonds, it also sets out the terms. And so the terms of borrowing is that it is payable from any available sources that are legally available to pay this. So it's not dedicating sales taxes, it's not giving ad valorem taxes, it's just any available funds. And then it also provides for some very language that is required by the State Bond Commission. We cannot change it, but it doesn't make any sense, but it's still in here, and that is about the swaps, which you would never do ever. And it also employs our firm because we always have bond counsel, and our fee is set forth by the Attorney General. And in addition, it is contingent. So if you don't ever do the borrowing, we will not be billing you. So again, it's just the first step to give you some flexibility in case you decide to pursue and proceed with the borrowing in the future. If we, again, as you decide to go forward, we would come back to y'all and get approval. So we have any other questions?
I see the not to exceed 8% language. What's typical? What's kind of?
So we just did so again, it's all dependent on the market, so it changes every day. We did a few weeks ago, I think there was like a 5% interest rate for 5 years or so. This is probably gonna be taxable, and not tax exempt. Normally when the government borrows, it's tax exempt, but the IRS rules don't really, it's very limited circumstances for which you can borrow for operating expenses on a tax exempt basis. So again, we'll have to continue to look at your projections for when you have cash flow available. So again, it could be, it could be around that 5 or 6%. We always put a higher number in there because if we put, say, 5 and all of a sudden it's 5.25, we have to start the whole process over again. So this really is a not to exceed parameter.
This is basically line of credit or line of bond. It's not earmarked towards anything. It could.
Startup expenses, yeah, it doesn't have any capital related to it, so it's really for operating your startup expenses.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion to approve.
We got a motion to approve by Heck, second by Edwards. Any opposition? Motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you for. Next item on new business is the ordinance to amend the 2024 general fund budget and to provide for related matters. We'll open up the public hearing on this item at this time. If anybody would like to speak on it, I've received no emails, received no cards, but now's your time if you'd like to talk. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on this item at this time. Sherry?
Council members, you may recall that you did adopt the budget that was for the prior period of time, and it was to expire. It was from August through December 31st. Because we didn't receive any revenues until October of this year, we're going to extend our fiscal year until June 30th, 2025. And so there were some adjustments that were made within the budget based upon additional information that we received since we did the last budget. And so we've trued up those numbers to the best that we can. We still do not have full records or full data from city parish to be able to have completely accurate numbers. But these are the best projections that could be obtained with information that we do have. Once if there is an intergovernmental agreement with the city parish, we will have to come back and amend this. So you're probably looking at an amendment sometime in March or whatever when we have additional information. But this is really the best budget that you could put together with the available data that you have at this time.
And Sherry, just to clarify for everybody, we have requested this data repeatedly over the last however many months, right?
Correct, maybe years.
Okay. So I just want people to understand that, some folks think that we just haven't requested the data or the information. We have persistently requested this data and information. It's just been difficult to come by up to this point.
And moving forward, when we, now that the tax has been reallocated, 6 months next year's budget, we won't have to depend on the information from the city parish like this. So the budget's going to be getting much more accurate.
budget will always have operating like mid-year to mid-year fiscal, not annual, right?
Correct,
January
well,
to
in the
December.
home rule charter, the proposed fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th, so if the home rule charter is successful in March, then this will be aligned with the home rule charter. We had, just because we got the judgment, the timing of the Supreme Court's ruling, we thought that we would have funding between, the time of the judgment and December 31st. But really, we didn't get any, funding from the city parish. The only funding that we have available is permit fees, and now we will be collecting occupational license fees. So this will get us through June 30th. Our tax that was successful this weekend, the collection date is April 1st, and so from an April 1st collection date, your first payment by the city parish will be June 10th. So you'll just be getting that first payment and whatever is negotiated with the city parish, and then you'll be able to start off with the fiscal year July 1st, elected officials, and a full year's budget.
Chris, the occupational licenses, we had a constituent that had some issues, getting occupational licenses. Has that all been worked out? Was it a structural issue? Was it
Yes.
the wrong phone number?
No, it was a minor issue. We've addressed that. We're also sending out the end of the year letters in the next week or so. We go out to 3,000 businesses throughout the city that we received the addresses from and the information from the city parish. So that's where that additional section of funds will come, starting January 1st, when they're due. They're late in April, so between January and April, we're expecting to be processing all those payment checks, which remain directly to the city.
Okay. We've had minimal amounts of requests for occupational licenses. We don't have 100 of them in the queue.
No, we've probably had, as we process them one at a time, probably had about 50 or so.
Okay.
So
None are 2 weeks behind. I mean, they happen quickly.
Yes, yes. Kind of caught me off guard, sorry.
Saw you looking at your phone.
I was.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Heck, second by Cook. Seeing opposition to this? Seeing none, ordinance to amend the 2024 general fund budget is approved. Last item under new business is the ordinance to amend section 201 of Title I relative to meetings of the Planning and Zoning Commission and to provide for related matters. If anybody would like to speak on this item, I'll open up the public hearing. At this time, I've received no emails or cards to speak, but now's your time. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Sherry, can you explain this one for me, please?
The original ordinance that was adopted for the planning, to set up the planning commission and the zoning commission, was copied out to Central, so your meeting dates were also Central's meeting dates, because we have some overlap of staff. That is not workable, and since we're now having our own meetings and not meeting in conjunction with the city parish, which we were doing at some time, everybody that has to be at these meetings was consulted and came up with a schedule. And so this is the schedule that would work. And so instead of meeting on the fourth Thursday, the meetings will be on the first Monday at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve by Edmonds,
Second.
second by Monticello. Any opposition? Seeing none, the ordinance is approved. All right, under other business, we have some announcements. Wednesday, December 18th at 4:30 p.m. is a budget hearing for the transition district. Wednesday, December 18th, directly following that budget hearing will be the transition district meeting at 5 p.m. Monday, January 6th at 6 p.m. will be the planning and zoning meeting. Tuesday, January 14th will be our next council meeting. Tuesday, January 14th, that's when we certify the results, correct? So we'll certify the results of the December 7th election at that meeting as well. Saturday, March 29th is election day for St. George elected officials and to authorize the adoption of the proposed home rule charter. And just a few reminders for our council folks that the deadline for ethics training and sexual harassment training is December 31st. I think most of everybody has done that at this point. If not, get on it. They'll come looking for you. So, that's the conclusion of our business. I know a few of us just want to say a few words, if you'll indulge us for a minute. So first and foremost, we had a very, very great weekend, this past weekend. It was really the culmination of so many years of work put in by so many people throughout this effort. It was hard not to be a little emotional about it. It was really kind of the final step in the process for us, going back to 2010. So really a 14-year process finally came full circle, and we finalized the process with solidifying the mechanism for city funding. We thought that we did a really good job of delivering a clear, concise message to the people of St. George, educating people in St. George on exactly what this was and exactly what it was not. Apparently, our messaging was successful. Anytime you get 80% of people to agree on anything in our world today, we're doing something right. I look at that a couple different ways. The second way I look at it is that it's a huge responsibility for us. 80% of the people in St. George felt like this was something good and that it needed to happen, and now we are charged with the authority of administering those tax dollars to create the next great city in the state of Louisiana. We take that responsibility of very, very seriously. So, from the bottom of my heart, from somebody that has been here pretty much from the beginning, I can't thank the voters of St. George enough for entrusting us with that responsibility. I can't wait to see what 2025 brings. Our election obviously wasn't the only election on the books this past Saturday. A new mayor president was elected in East Baton Rouge Parish. We look forward to working with him a great deal. We believe that we will have an intergovernmental agreement with him and the council here shortly into our new year, and we can finally move forward and do everything that was said that we were going to do. So thank you once again, and have a great holiday season and Merry Christmas. We will see you back in 2025.
I just want to say, woo, this is loud. Thank you, volunteers, council, everybody that was out putting up signs, that waved signs in the cold on Saturday morning, that texted, emailed, called. It was back to our grassroots effort, and we did it, and it was great. It was a great celebration. I'm happy to see it. A lot of them sitting in this room that have worked for years and years and years. So it has been wonderful, and it's exciting to see what we can do now with some money.
I'd like to also give a heartfelt thanks to the citizens of St. George. We want to try to continue to earn your support for believing what we believe in. Thank you.
Oh.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm standing by said the other night. His last words were, "Get ready, put your big boy pants on." Well, St. George, put your big boy pants on. We're here. Let's move in 2025. Are we gonna adjourn now?